I see this all the time, but I've never done a video on it, so I think I'm gonna do a video on this. Welcome back, everybody. So let's talk about water from a little bit of a nuanced perspective that I feel like hasn't really been addressed. And I looked online on YouTube to see if anybody's really addressed this, and I haven't ran into it yet. So I think it's a good topic to talk about, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't talked about it sooner. So in the first clip, you saw that there was somebody driving, and they had an IBC tote that had a water pump attached to it, and it was filled with water. And that's a very common occurrence. Where I'm at, we have a lot of people that do get water trucked, that get either water trucked in through a service, or they do it themselves DIY. Our local municipality has a very robust, awesome gravity-fed water system, very sustainable. The guys are super professional. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10, especially for a municipality that's under 2,500 people. Yeah, that's right, under 2,500 people. I mean, the water quality couldn't be better. Awesome team of people over there. I've done trips and I've done tours of the water treatment plant. It's pretty incredible what they can do. And so a lot of people out here that don't have robust wells or have wells that run dry, especially during peak seasons when it's super hot, they get water trucked in. My neighbor is one of these people. He does it himself. He has a DIY system and he trucks water in twice a month. Now, a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't realize the reasons why people would truck in water, right? A lot of times when we're in preparedness, we just think, oh, well, as long as I'm next to a large freshwater source, a pond, a lake, a river, a creek, then I'll be okay. I don't have to worry about anything. And I think that's a very bad attitude to have because it's not talking about the true nuances. And people that do believe that way, no offense to you, chances are you don't actively depend on that water source for your everyday life. Okay. Here we live in the frontier. Technically, it's considered frontier because of our population density. We're too sparsely populated to be considered rural. There's a lot of services that are not available to us. Certain fire districts and stuff are just not available to us because of how far out we live. Cool. So a lot of people in this area, my neighbor included, they get water trucked in. Here on our property, we're very lucky. We have a very robust well that stays, that stays stocked. We've never had any water issues thanks to the Most High. We have over 3,000 gallons of water storage above ground that's gravity fed. So even without electricity, we still have water pressure in our hoses and stuff. And we have the ability to plug into the largest river, one of the largest rivers in the state that's just right here. And we have the filtration ability to filter that water. And the reason why I say that is because my neighbor who gets water trucked in, he lives on the river, right? His property runs right next to the river, so he can fish from his property, so to speak. So the reason why he gets water trucked in is because the filtration that it takes to run the water from the river through his pipes is costly. It's a costly. It costs money for that infrastructure that he doesn't have yet, that he's working on. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that just because you live next to a large freshwater body of water source doesn't mean that the water is ready to go through the pipes. Now, if you want to play the bucket system and do that whole thing, good on you. I can tell you personally, that's a lot of work every day for water. Now, I would do it, especially if it meant my survival. But I'm not going to lie to you, walking and trucking water, that's a lot, especially in a completely grid down situation. I want to set myself up for failure. I want to be able to turn that little handle, and I want the magic to happen. I want the water to come out. In order to do that, you have to have some kind of preparedness apparatus infrastructure in place, right? There has to be some kind of infrastructure. With us, we have a water pump that can be run off of our generators, whether that's our solar generator or maybe you have a battery bank that's connected to an inverter, and maybe you have solar, you have some other type of renewables, whatever you have to do. Being able to have a plug-and-play system where you can just turn the switch and have water, for me, is most ideal. And that's what the water truck idea and these DIY water trailers are so important, because you can have, think about it, you can have all the water in your garage. You can have hundreds of gallons of bottled water, right? Eventually, that water is going to run out. And this idea that you're going to somehow have a rain catchment system big enough to supply you with all the water that you need for you and your family is, it just, in my honest opinion, probably won't suffice. We live in one of the areas of the country where we get we have some of the most rainfall in the country. And I can tell you, even with a rain catchment system to the roof, we wouldn't be able to catch all the water that we needed. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not here to say don't do rain catchment systems, do whatever you got to do, but I think it's important to look at this from a nuanced perspective. And don't think this has to cost you a lot of money. When I was full-time RVing, I went to Home Depot and I bought one of those garden water pumps, right? I think it did something like, I don't know, it probably did a gallon to 3 gallons a minute. I think at the highest setting it was like 3 gallons a minute. So it wasn't very big. So at a gallon a minute, if I, was plugged into and I got an IBC tote that fit in the back of my pickup, and, my ballast tanks on my RV can hold about 50 gallons of water. So if I went to the local creek, river, some freshwater source, and I started pumping water, even at a gallon a minute, which isn't very fast, I'd be able to fill it up in about, an hour. 3 gallons a minute, around 20 minutes. So I'd be able to fill it up, slowly but surely. That puts me in a way better situation than not having that infrastructure at all. How would you get water? Are you going to go to some local water source and do the bucket method? Where would you put the bucket of water into, right? These are all things to take into consideration. And once you have the water pump, you can easily do your own DIY filter, even if it's just to get the particulate out immediately. There are ways that you can filter that water out. So being able to have the ability to even pump water, I think it's super important. I think it's something that's worth mentioning and worth talking about. So like I said, keep that in mind. You don't have to go big. Like some of these DIY systems, they cost up to $600, $700 for the water pump and a large IBC tote. You don't have to get that crazy. You can literally get a decent water pump at Home Depot for $50 to $60. You can get a food grade tote or a food grade storage container that can hold water for about $30. Clean it out. There you go. You have the ability now to, even if it's just using the back of your pickup truck or your car, you can sit it up, and especially get one of those that hold large amounts of molasses or honey. You have these big 50-gallon totes. You can easily put that in your car and seatbelt it in if you needed to drive to a local municipal water source and start pumping it in. So these are all things to think about. I really highly encourage you guys, have water storage. Water storage is important. But also, what's also equally important is when you have finite resources and that resource is gone, what's your resupplyment plan? So that's what I have for you guys. Hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, guys, long live the Republic. And also, I want to know what your guys' plans are for water, for resupplyment plan of water. Tell me what you guys do in the comment section below. Long live the Republic.